Assignment number 2. Question number 1. Give the three examples to explain the difference between information and data. Data. Data is unorganized and unrefined facts. Data is an individual unit that contains raw materials which do not carry any specific meaning, if it measures in bits and bytes. Information. Information comprises process organized data presented in a meaningful context. Information is a group of data that collectively carries a logical meaning. Information is measured in meaningful units like time, quantity, and etc. Question number 2. Find an example of a modern information system and identify the system components in your example. So this is a transactions processing system. A transactions processing system is a software that ensures completion of business transactions and also keeps track of transactions. An OTPS or online transactions processing system is an equivalent system that online merchants use for e-commerce. The transactions processing system or TPS ensures that each transaction is successful by storing, sending, and receiving information via a database. It supplements the business points of a sales system, or POS, which is the unit that reads credit card, prints receipt, and accepts and stores cash. There are two types of transactions processing system. So first is batch processing. Through batch processing, a TPS interprets sets or batches of a data by grouping items based on similarities. Batch processing can create a time delay because it reviews several sets of data simultaneously, requiring more computing power. Example: a customer's pay for a subscription service at the end of the month. The TPS systems processes the transactions as a batch because they occur at the same time. In this case, a delay in processing transactions is acceptable because the systems only interprets batches once per month. Second is real-time processing. Real-time processing is a method of process transactions as they appear. This helps prevents delay in processing and can provide a more accurate result. For example, an e-commerce website must use a TPS to process credit cards transactions in real time to ensure payment before the company starts its fulfillment process. Processing transactions in real time also helps the company identify and address errors quickly, as well as increase its overall response time. Transactions processing system components. Each transaction has four major components that help its function. First is input. An input is an original request for a product or a payment that an outside party sends to a company's TPS. If your company uses batch processing, its TPS stores group of input and out and then process them later. In comparison, if your company uses a real-time system, it processes each input as it arrives. Inputs typically include invoices, bills, coupons, and customs orders. Second is processing system. The processing system reads each input and creates a useful output such as receipt. This element can help you define the input data and what the output should be. Based on the kind of TPS your company is using, processing times can vary. Third, storage. The storage component of TPS refers to where a company keeps its input and output data. Some companies store these documents in a database. The storage components ensure the organization's security and accessibility of every document for later use. For example, if a vendor would like to confirm that your company has paid an invoice, you can check your system's storage to find the invoice and determine if you delivered a payment. And lastly, output. TPS output are documents the system generates once in complete processing all inputs, such as receipts that company stores in its record. These documents can help validate a sale or transactions and provide information for tax and other official purposes. For example, if a vendor sends your company an invoice, you can pay the invoice and send the vendor confirmation on your payment. Then, you can amend the original invoice and mark it as paid in the company's TPS. Question number 3. Perform the asset identification and classification using weighted factors analysis for your example's information system proposed in number 2. So this is the data presentations and analysis collected data are presented in a tabular format, and they are analyzed using a probability impact matrix using ordinal scales ranging for law, so let us assume that the given value in each column, such as the impact of revenue, the impact of profitability, and the impact of public image, or the said criteria, are only estimate numbers to showcase the preference of the customers or clients in a particular bank. To weight the risk of the TPS, I use the weighted factors, analyze the following criteria being presented. After I identify a classification, the risk and the assets of TPS, I must find the weight score based on the preference of the estimated customers by respectively following risk on the table. Weights must always be equal to 100. To get the weighted score on each information's assets, first we must multiply the given value of 75. Now you must multiply it by 30 since it is the percentage given in the criteria. Next is to also complete the following criteria in the row, then add it all up or get the sum of the rows. Note that it should always be 100% on the weighted score. The lowest weighted score must be prioritized also to improve the system and be safe of risk.